I always said to myself, I think I could have got 3 in a row with T-Mac.
Bonding with this love fest that has broken out here at Staples. Oh, playing.
I think I could have got 2 with Vince.
Ori in. That one was speed, quickness, and slashing. So, remember.
Oh, I know I get 6 with Steph.
And another. You have to make him shoot free throws. Ori in. That one was speed, quickness, and slashing. So, remember.
Broken out here at Staples. Oh.
And another.
And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today. So you saw the clip at the beginning of the video, my people, and I'm sure you have heard other content creators talk about the fact that Shaquille O'Neal agrees with Tracy McGrady. Shaquille O'Neal believes that he could win 3 championships with Tracy McGrady. But as a matter of fact, Shaquille O'Neal said he could win 6 championships with Steph Curry, and I call cap, and more cap. But before we get into why I call cap, I don't believe Shaquille. I believe Shaquille O'Neal possibly could win 1 with some of those other players, with Tracy McGrady or Steph Curry. I forgot the other player. I think he mentioned Vince Carter. I think he could win 1. For sure, he's not three-peating. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about something. Because I was watching another video and they were talking about Shaquille O'Neal being the most dominant. And I have always had a problem with this statement for a couple of reasons. To me, I understand what they're saying. So they're saying Shaquille O'Neal is the most physically dominant. But when you're talking about dominating the sport, to me, that is also Michael Jordan. But even if you're talking about physical dominance, I have to give that to Wilt Chamberlain, not Shaquille O'Neal. And the reason why I have to, there's a lot of stories about Wilt Chamberlain being able to bench 500 plus pounds and some of the athletic feats that he could do. And, you know, people tend to question whether they are true or not. But this clip right here, to me, shows the power of Wilt Chamberlain. This is an old Wilt Chamberlain. And as you can see here, when he shook Shaquille O'Neal's hand, he about shook his arm off his body. He about shook his shoulder right out of socket. I mean, if you watch in slow motion, this handshake like rattled Shaquille O'Neal's whole body, and it looked effortless from Wilt Chamberlain. So I tend to believe a lot of these stories about Wilt. I don't think they're being exaggerating or anything like this. Wilt Chamberlain was an athletic freak of nature. He would talk about, there was one player he told a story about where he was going to dunk the basketball and the guy had his hand kind of in the rim and Wilt had to hold back because he felt he would have just snapped this guy's hand in half. And I believe it. So, and again, if you have any doubts, just how, like I said, he almost shook Shaq's arm off his body with this handshake. To me, that, and again, this is an older Wilt Chamberlain. So can you imagine Wilt in his prime? And so this is why I tend to believe, this is why I say Wilt Chamberlain, to me, has to be the most physically dominant. If you were just talking about physical dominance over other players. I'm sorry, Shaq, no, it can't be you. But now, let's get into the heart of the matter. of Shaquille O'Neal winning championships, winning just as many championships as he did with Kobe. I call cap on that. The first reason is this. To me, it is a proven fact that Shaquille O'Neal is going to do as little as possible to get by. This is part of the friction between him and Kobe. Is Shaquille O'Neal is going to do as little as possible to get by. He's not going to work at his game 24/7 around the clock. He's not going to work on his game in the off season. He's going to rely on that physicality to try to get by. And I think this is part of the reason why Kobe Bryant was necessary to have a three-peat, because Kobe Bryant was that necessary piece to make things uncomfortable to a guy who simply wants to be as comfortable as possible. Kobe made it uncomfortable. So while, I understand a lot of people have the regrets, Kobe and Shaq themselves has talked about, man, if we would have stuck together, how many championships would we have won? But the fact of the matter is Kobe was needed. That mentality that shake things up and makes things uncomfortable was needed to three-peat, because there is nothing comfortable about a three-peat. Again, when you talk about Michael Jordan, this is the part of the genius of Michael Jordan. This is part of the genius of leadership of Michael Jordan, to not only stay mentally strong himself, but to motivate his players to be in that same mental space. When you are winning year after year after year, you retire, come back, and do it again year after year after year. That takes a different level of mental toughness to achieve that. And so, yeah, to me, that this is what this is maybe even more so than the skill of Kobe Bryant, which obviously was a big component, but maybe even more so than the skill of Kobe Bryant was that component of striving to be the very best he could possibly be, and challenging other people who wasn't doing that. If you wasn't doing that, Kobe was not going to be okay with that, and that included Shaquille O'Neal. So to me, like I said, it took that component of Kobe being the player that was willing to stir things up and make things uncomfortable to be able to get to a three-peat. So that's one part of it, is Kobe's mentality was necessary to achieve that three-peat. And then the other thing of it is Shaq himself. The hack of Shaq was real, people. The hack of Shaq was real. And again, this kind of goes back to Shaq not doing everything he can to be the best he can possibly be. And that is improving the free throws. So to me, you take away Kobe, who doesn't have the same mentality, and you replace him with a Steph Curry. Is Steph Curry going to challenge Shaq like that? Is Steph Curry going to be willing to almost fight Shaq to challenge him and his lazy ways that he had when playing? Is Tracy McGrady going to be willing to do that? And would Vince Carter be willing to do that? I would argue none of those guys would be willing to do that. And to top it off on that, none of those guys are the closer that Kobe Bryant was. So you take away the mentality, you take away the closer, that means more pressure is going to be on Shaquille O'Neal, which means he's going to be exposed more on his free throw shooting if he has to carry more of the load. Because again, say what you want. I know people say, oh, Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in the history of the game. That's like the perfect combination. You got Shaq and inside out, to kick it out to Curry for some open shots. But again, Curry's not that clutch. Curry's not the same kind of killer that Kobe is. And it's not an insult, because none of those guys are. So Kobe's mentality is what And Kobe's ability to close the game, this is the most important part. Kobe's ability to close the game is what took a lot of that pressure off of Shaquille O'Neal. And none of those three guys are the closer that Kobe was. None of those three guys are the killer that Kobe Bryant was. And so again, I say this, Hacker Shaq was a real thing. And so if that means if you're going to be more dependent upon Shaq to be more of a closer, that's not going to cut it. You cannot have someone who is not a great free throw shooter to be your closer. Just ask LeBron James. Just ask LeBron James. That way you wind up 4-6 in the finals, people. When your superstar who you rely on to be a closer isn't actually a closer, partly because you can't shoot free throws, this is what happens. And this is what will happen to Shaquille O'Neal. So, yeah, I think this is just complete nonsense that Shaquille O'Neal, I understand you want to think that you're great, but again, Shaquille O'Neal is always one of those players that I put into the category of, yeah, you were great, but you weren't as great as you could have been. You know, I put into that category of, yes, you were great, but you were not as great as you could have been. And, you know, and now that we're years removed from your career, you want to go back and try to, for me, make it appear that you were, I don't want to say more than you were, but that's what it comes down to. You want to make it appear that you were more than you were. Again, this whole most dominant thing is, no, like you were the most dominant for the era, but the most dominant in the history of the game? No, that's Wilt Chamberlain. And Shaquille O'Neal, you should know that. You should know that. But anyway, we gonna hold up here, people. I could go on. Like I said, you know, and it's arguable that Shaquille wasn't even the best center in that around that time. I know Hakeem Olajuwon was before then, but you know, he played in the era of Hakeem Olajuwon, and to me, Hakeem Olajuwon was the better center. I would take Hakeem Olajuwon because he was just as great on offense, but he was better on defense. Shaq averaged think about 24 points a game, and for his playoff career, Hakeem Olajuwon averaged 25. But Shaq only averaged 2 blocks for his playoff career. We're talking about just the playoffs. Hakeem Olajuwon averaged more than 3 blocks a game for his playoffs. So, I mean, I think it goes without saying. Everybody knows this just from the eye test. Hakeem Olajuwon was a much better defender than Shaq. So, you know, yeah, I think you put Tracy McGrady with Hakeem Olajuwon, they have a better chance of winning more championships than Tracy McGrady with Shaq, because Hakeem Olajuwon, to me, it is a better leader. He is someone who will hold you accountable. So Tracy McGrady will have to fall in line, you know. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of Shaq's statement saying that, hey, he will win with Tracy, he will win with T-Mac, and lo and behold, people, he would win 6 with Steph. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.